I had a 5-hour shift.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Not Content Podcast. My name is your son, joined as always by Brian. Please leave a 4 or 5 star review to get people to listen to the show through Apple and Spotify. Definitely make sure to like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Click the bell icon for notifications. That is especially important because this month we are doing exclusive episodes. It's kind of become a December holiday tradition to do some bonus episodes. In the past, we've talked about like TV shows. This month, we are doing like the non canon. We're trying to add movies to the Christmas canon to your regular rotation so that you're not watching Christmas with the Cranks every year and you're watching good movies like The Holdovers, which we are going to be discussing today, and The Apocalypse, which I'm not sure is as good as The Holdovers, but I do have some thoughts that we will be sharing on YouTube this week. But again, The Holdovers, I specifically chose The Holdovers for this week because, Brian, this is the week that my semester ended, and what better way, what better time to release this episode, to record this episode, than around the same time as our main character here is getting done teaching his ne'er-do-wells for a semester.
I mean, it's just a coincidence, right? And you wouldn't happen to be like in the process of failing a student that could potentially be the father might be a financial stake in the school, something like that, right? You wouldn't fail a student, if he's got a
Well,
financial stake in the school, right?
it is so. The irony is delicious there because, given the places I work, that is an almost near impossibility that I would have anybody whose parents are of consequence.
Well, that's good because at least you got one problem less to worry about when it comes to teaching, I
Yeah,
guess.
I don't deal with the privilege. Like the thing is like Paul Giamatti is an asshole, but I'm not going to say it's justified because it isn't. But I think, given the behavior of the privileged white boys that are in this at the school, I can definitely understand it.
Yeah, I can understand it too. I think we got to put things in perspective, right? The holdovers takes place in 1969, right? Very different time in terms of school and what you can say and you can do, and I guess what third
I want
generation
to
these
correct you.
teachers.
It is December 1970, and the thing that makes this movie so great is that this movie looks and feels like it does really take place in 1970, and it doesn't feel like pastiche. I've been watching It Welcome to Derry kind of around the same time, and look, I like the show probably more than I have any right to, but they definitely treat the 60s as pastiche. I think Stranger Things does the same thing for the 80s. And again, I like both of those shows, but the decade is like window dressing, and the fact that this movie takes place in 1970 doesn't feel like it's window dressing. It feels very authentic.
For sure, and credit to the lighting. It actually looks good during the daytime and the nighttime with the snow. The school looks good. It looks authentic, and it has that feel to it. Even the beds, they even got the authentic looking old school beds with that metal frame, right, for boarding school from back in the day. So let's put that into context, and also put into context that certain generations of teachers, I would say, have certain expectations out of their students, and the current generation of teachers are just what? Would you say that you're kind of gave up on those hopes and dreams and just want to just pass these kids by now, or what?
Depends on the circumstance, my friend.
I think so. I think so. I mean, that's kind of what this movie is, right? Like he kind of gave up. He's giving up on his students. This one kid has kind of had this glimmer of hope, so he's kind of investing in him, even though he's being an asshole towards him during Christmas. But he actually opens up his heart like the Grinch, right? That's kind of the point. So it's
Right.
very weird because this movie doesn't have like a villain. So by default, you would say that Paul Giamatti is the teacher, is the de facto
I mean, they
villain
position him as a villain, as an antagonist of sorts.
antagonist. Yes,
Becomes. I
but
mean, he redeems
overall,
himself. Like to me, what makes this movie great is that it very much feels like a piece of so many Christmas movies, like A Christmas Carol or like It's a Wonderful Life. But it feels like it's also its own thing as well because it's not really about family. It's like this bizarro found family thing that happens, and I think that Paul Giamatti is absolutely the person that you want in this role. I mean, the performances are just unbelievable across the board. I look at these top three performances. You've got Paul Giamatti, you've got Dominic Sessa, arguably the breakout role, and it's interesting to me that he hasn't like been in something really huge as a follow up. Like I know he was like in an Amazon Christmas movie of all things. It's kind of weird. He is going to be in the Anthony Bourdain biopic, so that is definitely kind of a bigger deal. So it feels like kind of his moment is to come. But Divine Joy Rudolph or Randolph is unbelievable, and it's not just because Randolph is her last name, and of course the reindeer, but she won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, and she is somebody that I first noticed in the TV version of High Fidelity. She was a real standout in that show, kind of a breakout on that show, and the fact that she is able to win an Academy Award for this movie, she was very, very good. And again, this does feel like it found family. There is real chemistry between all of these characters, and I give Alexander Payne a lot of credit for this casting.
Yeah, I would say Divine Joy stole the show, like really stole the show. Like first that scene when they were watching TV for the first time, that's when you kind of see her character kind of unfold and develop and realize how great of an actress she is. Because it's like she's almost doing stage theater, kind of feels, but in a kind of like really great way for that transfers over into the film. Because I could see her performance easily translating into a theater production of this script, and it's again stealing the show and still have that same kind of performance. And then of course that party scene, just incredible. That just because that was so real. Like I've experienced that with grieving. Like my aunts and my uncles. We're at my aunts and uncles are at that age where they're starting to pass away, but there's been these moments in like the kitchen or something like that. Those solemn moments of just like grief. So that was a very real moment. So I was like shocked at the writing and how like spot on that was, like serious they treated that moment, and like the fact that she lost her son and lost her husband. It's just a tragedy, but it's she's kind of like the side character, which is kind of strange because I feel like she should be featured more in the movie. But um, I don't know. I guess in terms of like splitting up the story and the narrative, she kind of got equal time, I guess, with some of the other narratives. But it's just kind of a tragedy, her character, and she plays it off well as the pseudo mom, and always is like slapping Paul Giamatti on the arm, like, "What is wrong with you? Don't talk to the kid like that. Like he's alone on Christmas. Why are you saying that? Like you're trying to just be like the voice of reason." So I thought that was a really good touch, and the casting really has like a good chemistry. So like you said, this found family gimmick, which I talked about and teased last week, this is kind of like the central theme it feels of the movie, and it really just clicks so
It
well.
works out really, really well. I mean, that
Yeah,
party scene I mean, that's the movie. Like that to me is where it literally just all comes together. And the movie's really good before that, but it really feels like this is the crescendo, and this is the point when Hunnam realizes that he has done wrong to an extent. And I think that is one of the most impressive things to me that you know that makes this work out. And first Angus says his father is dead, and then they go to a psychiatric hospital, and that becomes kind of the inciting incident for when they return, and um, that this ultimately leads to Hunnam losing his job, unfortunately. But it's this is a real like the thing about the trailers for this movie. I don't think the trailers did this movie a lot of favors because it was just very the trailers were very acidic, and clearly that is the vibe that you get from the movie early on. But this is a movie with a lot of heart, and I think there's a reason that this movie made a very solid $45 million at the box office, which not exactly gangbusters, but on a $13 million budget, I would presume that this made a little bit of money. And I think this was able to capture an audience. And even if this wasn't a huge blockbuster, I definitely feel like there was a lot of positive buzz surrounding this movie in a good way. And I hope that it has become a part of people's rotation because I think that it deserves to be. I think this movie deserves to be regarded as one of the better, more modern holiday movies. In some ways, this could be a Christmas movie because this could also be kind of a New Year's movie as well because the movie extends into January.
for sure. I just really liked how he directed the actors. I don't know what it is. Like, I guess we both like Sideways, right? Another well, directed movie in terms of acting.
Yes, I'm very mixed on Alexander Payne, but that is definitely one of his strongest movies.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
like he gets the best out of his actors. Election, another great. Like, I think that might be Reese Witherspoon's best performance, to be honest. That I've seen. That I've seen. I can't really speak for her Apple stuff, but in terms of the movies, it just feels like that's one of the more standout roles for her in terms for me. And then of course, what was the other movie that I also like? Oh, About Schmidt. Loved About Schmidt.
One
And I
of
think
Jack
again,
Nicholson's final performances. I
and
mean,
one
he
of his
was
best.
only
I
in
think he
two or
did. He win?
three.
He got nominated. I don't
No,
think
he
he
did
won.
not. He did not. He did not win. As good as it gets,
But
was his third and final
yeah,
appearance.
but man, it just feels like he's really clicking when he's on point with his actors. Like, I know some movies have bombed and not really clicked,
Yeah,
and that's just chemistry.
downsizing is not it.
Yeah, I guess so. But I guess chemistry is key, right? So he went back to what he knows, and Paul Giamatti worked with him in Sideways, and 20 years later they're reunited. And I think it was a good pairing to reunite with at a certain time, because he's much more older now. Paul Giamatti, he's much more aged, and of course he's done a whole gambit of things. He's done shoot 'em up, he's done action movies, he's done Spider-Man movies, he's done all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of nice to see him kind of go back to one of these kind of roles that are just kind of leveled down human pieces. And I think the fact that he's aged appropriately for the role, right? Like, he just looks like that old teacher, and he's like the right age
I mean,
for
he
it.
has perpetually always looked older than he is, and I think that has
I know.
actually suited him well. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I think that this is such a fascinating piece of
And
work
then my
because
question is, I can't, I didn't look this up, but I want to see if you know the answer, and we may just leave it a mystery. Which eye is the prosthetic eye that they use as makeup?
I don't know.
See, that's the best part, isn't it? Because for all we know, it could be his real eye, but it's probably not, obviously. But I mean, because look, the guy does not have a lazy eye in real life, obviously. But to pull that off the whole movie, you got to really have good, like, makeup. You know what I'm saying? Especially eye makeup. So I thought that was like very subtle in terms of like great makeup and detail, because it's one of those things you don't think of, like Marlon Brando putting the cotton in his mouth. It's one of those things, little attention to detail adds to the character. And of course, he talks about
I
his
think
eye in the
those real
movie.
details make a huge
Yeah,
difference.
and then
I
of course
really
it
do.
pays off at the end with that line about this is the one you look at, right? So just little things like that, you know what I mean? It's a good touch. So and I like the idea that I mean, not it's not a good thing, but this idea of what mental health was, right? I mean, we're just talking about Jack
not
Nicholson
not
before the
not
Google's
just
nest,
in institutionalizing instead of treating is
right? And this is
basically the vibe that they're going.
1970, and it's clear to me, but I don't know if it's clear to you, but I think they electroshocked him, right? That's clearly what the indication
I
was.
think that is or something or maybe even a lobotomization, right?
That's what I was thinking too. I wasn't thinking that far into it, but it just seems like, yeah, because my aunt, I've heard stories about my aunt around this time. She had similar kind of episodes, and she was like, electroshock therapy. And this was like even what the late 70s, the early 1980s has happened, and this is 1970. So I can only imagine just the idea of what they thought of what mental health was and how to treat things, and just totally missing the ball. So I don't know if this guy is actually as violent as they say he is, or maybe he's just, you know what I mean? Like, we really don't know the extent of his mental health. Like, it's just, I don't think we're ever going to know, because how do we know that the mom lied about the physical incidents, right? Because it seems like she just wanted to get rid of the guy. So, and that's the thing too, is the mom is a biatch, but what can you do? So,
I mean, again, I think that we get a real sense of the privilege that's involved here. I mean, these are kids, at this school who are going to be going to the Harvards, and that's why obviously why Paul Giamatti's character is so bitter because he was not able to finish his academic career properly and he's teaching at this high school instead of being a professor at a university. Like, you just feel that bitterness. And, Paul Giamatti, obviously the character is like continuing to be bitter and, sees these ne'er-do-wells as not living up to their potential, and he's really angry about it. And again, this movie is very acidic in that first 20 to 30 minutes because you see how he treats his students, and it's not great. And again, the students are certainly not perfect, and the students are certainly not well behaved, but it is very much a two-way street. And with somebody like him, I mean, he is an adult. Like, he's an adult teaching kids. Like, these are still, even though it is a boarding school, these are still kids. And It's
Yeah, it
easy to see
just
why the students and the teachers despise him.
yeah, I've always had this philosophy about teaching, and you could probably agree with me because it's probably the same thing. Is like you got to communicate on the level of your students. If you're just
Well,
not like
yeah, I
communicating,
mean, you can fail
because
them, but you have
I've
to.
definitely had the experience of like teachers that are just like talking in their own kind of level and not communicating the message, or like they're just sprouting out words and no one's paying attention or no one's taking it. And I think that's what's going on here because I've
Right, and
definitely
I
been in
think you
those
have
kind
to
of
do that
classes for
even.
sure.
You have to do that even more
Yeah,
in
and then but
high
once you
school.
have those teachers that know how to communicate and are in the, especially like this guy doesn't watch TV, which tells you he's not pop culture savvy. But if you have a pop culture savvy teacher, you can connect the dots easily for your students, right? But he's not even doing that. So he's
Well,
not
you
even
also
like,
have to understand that TV in 1970 has a very different perception than it does now. I mean, we live in an era of like prestige TV, but in 1970, like TV was seen as a
I'm
lesser
talking more
sport.
this guy doesn't know who the Beatles are. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm worried
Right.
this
I
guy
mean,
does not know who
that is a
John
huge
Lennon
problem.
is,
Like
which I think
you
is
never
key
get
to
to
being a
this.
teacher, especially in 1970. You gotta like know who John Lennon is and Paul McCartney, and you know what I mean? I mean, it may
And
not affect your
understanding
teaching, but it's like
Vietnam and like
yeah.
it's a
So
very different world. Like 1970, like some of the people in these classes, like they could be drafted. They could go to Vietnam and lose their lives, and that's even referenced at one point. With with Mary Lamb, like of course she loses or she lost her son in because he was drafted, and and it's because like the son could not go to college, and like so many of the people at this very privileged institution are going to be able to afford to go to college, even if they don't go to an Ivy League. Their parents are going to bribe somebody to get them into school.
yeah, I thought that was a very good like layer to it with the death of the son, and like that's pretty much obviously like a a social commentary to what
Oh
these
yeah.
kids are like, the privilege of what these kids are going through. So it was very smart writing in terms of that. But then again, it's those little things that make me want to go more into like her character. And we really don't get that because I thought like we did kind of get that when she visited her sister, but I thought we were getting more of an extension of that. But we kind of switched off back to the kid's plot about meeting his dad. But this movie's 2 hours and 11 minutes, so I can understand that. It's just I feel bad when you introduce interesting characters and you can't fully explore them because there's still a bit of a mystery left of what she's gonna do because she still wants to stay at the school. How's she gonna handle like the repercussions of what happened? Is she just gonna let things slide and just be, kind of like dealing with her grief, right? So it's a very interesting character, and I kind of wish that we kind of explored her more. But the real tragedy, I guess, besides her tragedy, is of course the kid and his parents and his dad. But man, that that mom character, I forget, I don't know the actress's name, but my goodness, that was so cold blooded. Um, and
I
the
mean,
moment,
yeah, she excels at it.
one of the things
Yeah.
that really like affects me or affects a kid is when they're on the phone with their parent and saying, "Please don't do this." It's one of the most regrettable things that you can't go back on, right? Once a kid says that, it's like you're at that line, and she fucking crossed it, dude, like cold blooded style. So I got no sympathy for this character, which you're not supposed to have. But if that's the real villain of the movie, then maybe she's the true villain of the movie. Because like, goddamn,
I mean, she arguably is the villain. That's for sure. I mean, she her and the stepfather are excellent in their 5 minutes of screen time that kind of brings everything together and leads to the departure of Paul Giamatti's character. And I mean, I guess in some ways, like maybe he's going to be better off. Like maybe he's going to be able to do something else with himself and find happiness. Like I see
yeah,
him
I
being
consider it
fine
a
with a
happy
happy
ending. This
ending.
is a happy ending to me. Yeah, this is a happy ending.
Yeah, because
Compared
he's
to
gonna get
like
he learned something and
election,
now
I
he's gonna
guess.
yes.
Yeah,
Like to me, he
yeah, because
learned something.
election, the wrong, the bad guy won in that case. But in this case, even though he did get fired, the kid still gets to stay in school. He's not going to military school because that would probably mess him up even more. Because if he's on meds now, imagine going to military school. They're just going to throw his meds away, right? Like that's right. That's my interpretation of it. Like, but it sucks. But he hopefully this kid goes on because we're never going to get a sequel, which is good. But I can only imagine like this kid is going to go on to be an author or something like that. So I guess
Yeah,
that's the implication.
that is
Something
that
like that along those lines for sure.
very good stuff. Yeah, I give this. I'm at about an 8.5 or 9 out of 10. I mean, I think this is an excellent Excellent movie. This is one of the best recent holiday releases that we've had in a long time.
Yeah, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Um, it doesn't have the holiday cheer, but I do like I said, it is a happy ending for the character. There's less focus on the Christmas, like festive stuff. I mean, there's the tree stuff, but this is more focused on the characters and the relationships and what they're going through and the background stuff and how they all kind of subtly come together as a family without knowing it. So I thought that's a little cool thing about it. And yeah, it's about an 8 out of 10 for me. I think over time it's going to get a little probably more stronger rating. I think this is going to grow or age well with time. I think like a wine. And Alexander Payne, man, after watching this, maybe he should be the one to do the remake of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
I don't know. I don't think that movie should ever be remade. Why mess with a movie that is, if not
Because
perfect?
if it's going to be remade anyway, at least put someone in charge that can actually pull it off. So
I disagree. I would rather it die on the vine and never be heard from
we
again.
know that's not
Speaking,
true because of licensing and keeping
I
the
mean, look, there are
rights.
some movies. I'm not against remakes. I'm against remakes of movies that are already good. Like if you want to remake Ocean's 11 from the 60s, like that movie isn't great. You can remake that movie, and the 2001 version is significantly better. But don't remake a movie that's already like again. People are watching Planes, Trains, and Automobiles every year. It's celebrated. Let's leave well enough alone. Speaking
Well,
of
the
movies that have been
reason well, the reason I say that is because the scene in the car where they were like a kind of going back at each other, making insults, very Planes, Trains of Steve Martin and John Candy
I mean,
going
I'm
one
sure that
another
was
at the yeah
purposeful. Like, if you want to do
yeah.
homages like that, that's fine, but don't, don't do
That's
something
why I
like
said like if he probably could pull it off if he wanted to, but that's
that. All
an
right.
if.
Speaking of forgotten movies, we're going to talk about Anna and the Apocalypse, and we're going to talk about why this movie is not more well known than it is, because it's better than I like. I went into this, I was like, had forgotten a lot of it, and upon rewatching it, I was wondering why isn't this more seen by people? So that is what we are going to delve into on YouTube this week. A discussion of Anna and the Apocalypse.
And the $600,000 it made in the box office apparently kind of helps explain why.
I saw this in theaters, and apparently I was one of like people.
Wow, so you contributed to the $600,000, which is
I absolutely contributed to the 600,000.
wow. There you go. You could probably calculate the math on that, folks, if you wanted to, on the per seat or the
Much
per
easier than
average.
you could if it was like $6 million even. But
Yeah.
yes, we are going to discuss that next week on the main show. We are going to be discussing Carol. It is the 10-year anniversary of one of the most important queer romance stories that has been told, and we are going to be talking all about it next week. And we are pairing it with another queer romance story, a movie that kind of came out in the pandemic era, like that 2021 era. So it's going to be very interesting to have a conversation about two movies that handle, gay romance very differently. So we'll be discussing the happiest season on our YouTube channel next week, and that'll be very, very interesting as well.
Looking forward to talking about all that. And End of the Apocalypse, I just looked it up as well. It's a UK movie, so now I'm kind of more interested with the accents. So if there are accents.
There is an actor who was in both Shaun of the Dead and Anna and the Apocalypse.
Well, that has me marking out already because everyone in China that is awesome. So I'm excited.
All right, we will talk to you again next week.